Hi, everybody. I'm Rogers Healy, the host of Rogers That, a podcast dedicated to selling without selling out. And today we have a longtime friend of mine. We have Adrian Clark. Adrian and I met well over a decade ago. Interesting time in both of our lives. We were both in a kind of figured out phase, and through the power of social media, through LinkedIn, and through a local insurance salesman, believe it or not. Actually, no, through a banker. A banker who I think we both have collectively met one time.
Right.
He thought we would benefit from having a friendship, and what started as a friendship turned into something really special. And Adrian has become family to me, even though he's never met my wife or my daughter, which that's episode 2.0. But Adrian has been a disruptor, and we were just talking before we got started that what Adrian's been able to do in the world of athletics, in the world of business, in the world of boxing is he's been able to couple his passion for boxing with his savvy and his passion for business. He's stayed relative. He's gotten every award under the sun. And today we're going to learn his story. So, Adrian, thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, I knew the introduction was going to be amazing. That's why I didn't worry. I didn't even send a bio because I knew you would bring me in the right way.
And if y'all are watching, that's the first compliment Adrian's ever given me in 13 years of friendship, and the last.
And the last.
Are we rolling? Is it filming? I want to make sure we have that. But yeah, Adrian, thanks for being a part of this and for showing up and for all that you've done.
Always.
For me, why don't you give us a little bit of background, your story, how you got into the world of boxing. And then is this going to be where you're going to drop an album on Death Row Records? Is Suge Knight about to come out here?
I'm the new Suge Knight, essentially.
So this makes me Vanilla Ice.
Pretty much.
So you're about to dangle me over a balcony if this doesn't go well.
If the hit single does not hit, then yeah, you will be.
No pressure.
Yeah.
I'm listening. Continue. I've never been more engaged in my life.
Well, I boxed in college down at Texas A&M down in Corpus Christi. I competed in 2 Golden Glove tournaments, and I was horrible. I was not a good fighter at all.
Really?
I thought I was, but no. My last fight, I got knocked out in under 30 seconds, which is probably a record in Corpus Christi.
Wow.
And that let me know that I needed to be on the business side of things, and that's where my boxing journey began in Corpus. And it started with Timothy Tipton's right hand. That weaving right hand clipped me on the jaw, and that's why I got into.
Did you box growing up as a kid?
Well,
I've never even asked you this.
Yeah.
I don't even know the story. I just assumed that you just were born into the world of boxing.
No. Football was the first love, and then basketball, of course. And then my brother used to beat me up all the time, and I actually dedicated my entire boxing career to my brother. He passed away in 2006, but he always used to beat me up, and boxing was what helped me compete with him. So that's how I got in it, man, and it's been amazing ever since. But
you and I both grew up. You're probably what, 36?
36.
You're 36. I'm 42. So I'm 6 years older than you. For all y'all that are doing math, but we grew up in a really great era of wrestling and boxing, where Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, all those guys were relevant, and then Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Booker T, all those people in both worlds. How did you feel like you had to kind of pass the torch, where I think as we started becoming adults and young men out of college in the world of business, boxing kind of slowly started to die?
Yeah, with no American heavyweight as champion, the sport really did take a huge hit. And then with MMA, people want to see knockouts, they want to see blood, they want to see the action. And with boxing, sometimes it's hit or miss. You may see a guy in a chess match trying to figure someone out for 36 minutes, which most people don't want to see that. They want to see instant action. But I think it's coming around now. We have more heavyweights, and we have more smaller fighters that are big punchers. So things are starting to pick up a little bit, man, in the sport of boxing. So we're hopefully changing going into the future.
Who was the first boxer that you saw as a kid that you wanted to emulate?
Roy Jones Jr.
Wow.
Yeah, Roy Jones was the man back in the day. Roy Jones was the first person that, my mom, she would, cheer so loud. And I'm like, why are you cheering so loud for this man? It was more than just him being fantastic in the ring. It's I think she had, a thing for Roy Jones Jr., but he was amazing, man, in every facet in the ring. And he was exciting to watch, so I would try to be Roy, but I was way too slow.
Fun fact, I met him the same day I met the Temptations. I went to Vegas for my 21st birthday to see the Temptations in concert. Wow. And as we're boarding the flight, this is right when digital cameras came out. I rode the elevator down at Caesar's Palace with Roy Jones Jr. And I remember, and I had just interviewed Sugar Ray Leonard at the old SMU.
Okay.
I loved boxing. I've been hit multiple times and never hit anybody, and I don't want to.
You know what I want to see?
Me get hit?
I actually would love to see you in a celebrity boxing match in Dallas.
I will be the MC.
You and Mark Cuban would be a great fight.
Hell to the no. So that's a tongue twister.
Roy Jones Jr.
RJJ.
Yeah.
He was your guy, and then I guess when everyone thinks of the business of boxing, they can't help but think of like Don King.
Yeah,
right?
and I have a different take on Don, man. Like, most people paint him as a guy that just robbed all the fighters, and honestly, Don King made a lot of fighters a lot of money in their career. Mike Tyson wasn't a multimillionaire before he got with Don King, so sometimes he's painted as just this total bad guy, and honestly, he wasn't. That was in a time. Don King. No, he's not. He's still alive. Still alive and still spending money probably from 1975. But he was a guy that was doing it at a higher level than Bob Arum at a time where, it was hard for black people. They weren't even allowed in the building, and Don was promoting the best fight. So I got big respect for Don. Of course, I don't like him taking from the fighters, but he was an amazing promoter.
And so was that, and people might not really realize the transition. You went from being a boxer, a college kid, to a tycoon. Like, you have part ownership in a sports team. You're a CEO of a new company. You're a multi-published author. Well, what was it that got you from one side of the ring to the other? How did you go and make a decision to actually be on the business side?
Aside from Timothy Tipton knocking me out with that big right hand, I always wanted to work in the world of sports. I just didn't know like what exactly I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work with pro athletes. I just didn't know, based off of where I'm from, Pleasant Grove, like, we didn't see sports agents. We didn't know sports agents existed. I didn't know what a sports agent was until I got to maybe my junior year of high school. So once I figured out, okay, you know what, this is cool. I want to work with pro athletes. Since I'm not going to be one, I'm vertically challenged, so to speak. All of my friends are NBA players, or most of them are, but I was the one that was right. But I got on the business side of things, and it's been a journey, of course. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but I wouldn't trade this experience for the world, man.
Do you remember the first time you saw it and you're like, holy crap, this is a pretty corrupt industry?
Yeah. Actually, my first year.
Because you were really young when you were like 22?
23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And my introduction to boxing was a contract dispute with a local promoter, Julio Martinez, who had my client in a very bad contract. And I was looking to just restructure the contract, not to get out of it totally, but just restructure some things. And he was not for it. So he put us on the shelf, and we didn't fight for 10 months. And I was actually able to hire a lawyer who did it like pro bono, not for any money. And Ryan Kaiser got us out of that contract, and things started from there, man. So, yeah, my introduction was bad. And from there, I just knew if I ever had the power or the voice to change things, I would. And yeah.
So the clients have always come first.
Yeah, got to. They have to in the sport of boxing, because they get taken advantage of so much, man. Yeah. From the contractual.
Give
things.
us an example. Like, what would be an example of how somebody's got?
So let's just say if you were my manager, and I was hiring you to be my spokesperson. Essentially, you own a company, so like the person that you hire to speak for you, they don't have you under contract. They don't tell you like, oh, well, you can't fire me for 3 years. And if I get this deal for you, then the contract extends another year. And then I'm going to take 33% of what the company makes just based off of you hiring me as a spokesperson. That's how it is for a boxer. They own the company. Their name is the company, but you have the manager taking up to 33% of the money. And then the trainer gets paid 10% of the money. And now strength and conditioning coaches and cut men are taking percentages of the fighter's total purse. So before the fighter even pays taxes, he's out of almost 50% of his money. Like, that's how guys get taken advantage of in this business. And
so people, a lot of times the manager will make more money than the fighter.
It's always, because the fighter can only fight one time in one night. The manager could have 10 other guys fighting on the card, getting 30% from each guy.
Is that what you do? Are you a manager?
I was a manager in the sport of boxing. I retired, quote unquote, 3 years ago. But my 9 years of boxing management, I never took more than 10% from the client. And I didn't have guys sign under contract. Like, we had handshake agreements, and you could fire me if you didn't feel like I was doing my job. And it works. Like, no one ever stiffed me, and things worked out. So I know that there's money to be made in the business, and there's a way you can do this without taking advantage of the fighters. The sport is just medieval, and people think that you have to screw the guys over to keep them honest, and that's not true.
What was the age difference between like the tenured people that were in the boxing management and agent world, and then you? And I remember like the big award you got was you were Forbes, 20 under 40, right?
Yeah, 30 under 30.
30 under 30,
Yeah,
and then you got another award for being, I think, the shortest boxing manager.
No, there was some guys shorter than me.
I'm just kidding. So what was that like? I mean, to go and you disrupted. And the whole theme of this podcast is to sell without selling out, which means like literally you sold yourself because you're a great salesperson, a great brand, but you stayed true to what you believed in. What was that journey like for you?
I didn't get as much drawback because when I created Protect Yourself at All Times, which is pretty much an educational system for the amateur and professional fighters, I didn't get as much drawback as I thought I would, but I think a lot of people just didn't understand that this is something that's going to help a lot of fighters not get taken advantage of in the business. Mind you, like as a manager in the sport of boxing, you don't have to have a degree or you don't have to have a certain certification. You just send $100 to your state commission and they send you a license in the mail making you a manager. It's like you having an agent who does not pass the test. They just say, I want to be a real estate agent with no experience. And you're like, okay, well, cool. Here you go and go sell a house. That's how it is in boxing. So with me coming in with Protect Yourself at All Times and educating the fighters and actually putting them in the driver's seat, I got a little bit of drawback, but I think most people thought that this is not going to last. He's not going to be consistent. And here we are, still going, still partnered with USA Boxing and impacting more and more fighters, man. So it's been dope.
How many people do you think you've helped in the world of boxing?
Honestly, and this is not even a embellishment, I'm a writer, so sometimes we lie in books, but thousands of fighters, and it's people that I don't even know about because I wrote a book, I did a podcast, and I have a documentary. I'm doing a short film next month. So there's just so many facets to Protect Yourself at All Times. So it has to be thousands of people that I've helped. So
if you could fight any of them, who would it be? If you had to fight, name some of your bigger name clients.
So I do a lot of work for Errol Spence Jr.
Who is probably this era's Roy Jones Jr.
Honestly, Errol could be this era's Floyd Mayweather if he made certain business decisions to catapult him, but definitely this era's Roy. He's a scary man in the division, and most people don't want to fight him. But I negotiate his glove deals with Everlast. He's currently the highest paid athlete probably in Everlast history. So Errol is probably happy with that deal.
How'd you meet him? He's a Dallas guy, isn't he?
He is a Dallas guy, and actually one of the managers that used to manage my first client, Jerry Belmontes, his name was Lou Mezzarana. And I used to always think Lou was like my enemy. Because,
did you say Lou, like an Italian? Lou Mezzarana?
Oh, yeah. No, and he was that type of guy also.
Yeah.
He's from New Jersey, I believe. Jersey or New York. But Lou told me when I was actually still in college, he was like, hey, there's this kid from Dallas. His name is Errol Spence Jr. Like, he's going to be the next best thing in boxing. You should get in contact with him. And God rest Lou's soul, man. He wasn't wrong. Like, I reached out to Errol on Facebook and just let him know who I was. And we built a relationship from there. So he's been really good for me. He's actually done the foreword for 2 or 3 of my books, man. So he's been a good dude.
Before I forget, what are your books? What are they called?
Ooh, man. First one is titled I.
By the way, when someone says, ooh, man, that means write this down because I got multiple books.
Too many.
Only book I've ever written is Facebook. So back to the storied author. What's the first book?
Lowercase I, a guide for young entrepreneurs. The second one is Protect Yourself at All Times, a guide for professional boxers. The third one is Boxing Equals Life, Champion Your Existence. It's a motivational book that compares or shows how synonymous life and boxing are. Fourth book is my memoirs. By
the way, who has a memoir at 36? You got a Lifetime Achievement Award at 36, but your memoirs. Anyway, continue. What was that called?
Dark Horse. Dark Horse is my memoirs.
Autographed version at our office.
Yeah, I do. It's out there. I'm on the wall. And then my last one was titled Divorce Behavior for Men. So totally away from sports and entrepreneurship, but I went through a divorce. And I decided to write about the emotions and feelings that go through it for men that most people don't know or don't think about. Yeah, so that's my fifth. Like, those are my 5 books, and I have 1 more to go.
Shocker. What's the 6th?
It's called Finished Business, and it's a controversial book that's probably going to get me in some trouble.
Because of bad pictures?
that, and then
Really?
I'm airing a lot of like dirty laundry through characters. So it's like,
Who plays me? Ryan Reynolds? What's my character's name?
John Voight actually is going to play you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
it's like
crazy
great
because he
actor.
was my coach in a movie. And
Exactly.
John, if you're watching this, I approve.
I met him in Beverly Hills one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all the freaking people John Voight would play, I don't approve. Ryan Reynolds, maybe Hugh Jackman, Ryan Gosling with darker hair, all those are approved.
I think you and John Voight kind of look alike a little. You can,
Next question. So back to the books, and when you look back, like in the world of business, we'll separate it into two. Like who's been your biggest success story that you could look back on and be like, man, I had a part of that guy or that gal's success. And then two, in the world of business, with your evolution as a CEO, as a business owner, as an author, if you had to go look back and tell Ace, in 100 years, this is the one moment that shines the brightest. What is that moment?
So Errol Spence will be the guy that, it's an honor to be a part of his career. He's going to go down in history as one of the best boxers that ever laced a pair of gloves up. So he's definitely going to be the guy that I have a picture that he tweeted, me and him hugging on after he just beat Ugas for an extra belt. We were hugging in the locker room, and someone took a picture of it, and he posted it on Twitter. That I have a poster of it at my place now. That was a big moment, and man, believe it or not, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the show, but like you've been like a great role model for me in regards to like when I was just in a down period. I remember sitting in your office, the old office, man, and I was like down to nothing. And I was gonna move back to Utah
and work at a boxing studio.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me, and it was like a shock to me because no one ever told me like something was stupid. You were like, "That's stupid," and I was like, "I can't believe you just like said that." But you really talked some sense into me that day and prevented me from making a really dumb decision. So I love that because no one has ever like spoke to me like that before, and then like kind of turned me around and pointed me in the right direction. But the way you carry yourself and the knowledge that you've given me, like you're one of the guys that I can say that before the Forbes list or any of that, you were someone that actually like invested in me with words, man, and always looked out for me and pointed me in the right direction. So it would be you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, man. I would hug you right now, but
this is a podcast about boxing. If anything, we're about to put these gloves on and fight.
I told you and Mark Cuban, that would make the city millions, man. I don't know why we.
It actually wouldn't. And fun fact: the first time I met Mark Cuban was ironically the day that he bought the Mavericks, and I used to have to guard him. And the first time I ever met him, he dislocated my jaw. I was guarding him. I was a sophomore in college. This is a way off subject conversation, but. I was guarding him because we were always the same size, and then he went up for a rebound and accidentally took his elbow into my jaw, and I was at the hospital room with my mom, and it dislocated, and on the news I was like, that's the guy that literally dislocated my jaw, and it was Mark Cuban.
See, that's
so I got free season tickets for life.
That's ammunition though. Like he broke your jaw purposely.
That's a cool story. I was like, he was coming out. That's a vendetta. Mark Cuban, I'll meet you in the parking lot downtown at the Statler at 3 a.m. I'm joking. No, I wouldn't put all your money on anybody fighting me because I would not do well in any kind of boxing. Okay, so back to the fighting part with disruption, staying true to yourself. You mentioned MMA. So disruption is big. Like in our industry, in real estate, there's always technology companies that want to sell real estate. There's cloud companies. There's always somebody trying to go and take me out at the knees, which I secretly kind of like because it makes me continue to persevere and to work hard.
Yeah.
You mentioned MMA. You come out of high school, you come out of college where boxing is still boxing. Like everybody knows about it. Back in the day, pay-per-view, you get 50 of your friends. Like we watched the fight at my house.
Mayweather.
Yeah, we watched the Mayweather fight. And I remember one of my most ridiculous road trips of college is we drove to Memphis to see Mike Tyson's last fight at the Pyramid where he fought Clifford Etienne.
Okay.
And I remember I got his sweat sponge. And it was like a 3.5 second fight. You mentioned 30 seconds was the shortest fight. Literally 3.5 seconds. He punched Clifford, and it was over.
With.
And the fight before was Tanya Harding, the ice skater. And I was like,
"Oh snap! Okay."
I was like, "This is the worst day of my entire life." And it was at in Tunica, Mississippi, where I had just lost a bunch of money, so I was pissed. Anyway, MMA comes on the scene. Everybody all of a sudden wants to go and be a mixed martial arts fighter, and boxing starts to die. Well, how did you go and press through that? Where now you're on the other side of it. Errol Spence Jr. comes out. These other guys, you mentioned Jerry Belmontes. How did you go and deal with that, knowing that you were on the, the short end of the statistic?
Well, I think they say ignorance is bliss. Like I didn't think about it, and every time I hear boxing was dying or it's not something you should get into, I already had my mind made up of that's what I wanted to do. So I really just ignored all of that. Just as I ignore when people say, "Oh man, protect yourself at all times" is great, but it's never gonna work. The fighters are never gonna listen to you. Blah blah blah. I've heard it all. So I didn't really pay attention to MMA really like booming, and then boxing was kind of on a decline. I just really focused on like my clients and what my objective was, and things are different now. So I really just stay focused.
Did you ever have a moment where you were just like humbled? You're like, I just got my ass handed to me.
Ooh, in this business,
not a literal fight, but I'm just in
in this business, no, not yet.
Today's the day. Today's the day. You're done. I'm ruining you. You're going to become a realtor I'm joking. You've never had a moment where you're just like, damn, this is how the world really works? If so, good for you.
The boxing world or just the world in general?
The world of boxing and business.
Oh, yeah. In boxing, man, it's, like I said, it's really primitive, man. The way they do things, it's like, yeah. If I were doing things the wrong way, like most people in the sport do, then yeah, I probably would have had several moments as you're speaking of, but I really stay on the straight and narrow with how I handle things with the fighters, with the promoters, and other individuals. So I had one situation that could have went left with Lou DiBella, who's a Hall of Fame promoter. But the key with the older promoters, they like to like yell at you to like rattle you or get you to either shut up or clam up or whatever. So after he was done yelling on the phone, like I knew I had a choice to make. Either I could just start yelling back at Lou DiBella, which he's probably going to win that battle, or I can just ask him, like, was he done? And my client still wants this amount of money. Either gonna pay it or we're not gonna fight. So I went with the latter to stay calm. And but yeah, I haven't had my ass handed to me in the sport of boxing, the business of boxing.
Keep the streak alive.
I hope so.
Best advice you've ever received
was actually from Cameron Duncan, who longtime manager in the sport of boxing. I met with him in Vegas when I first became a manager. It was important for me to meet with him for whatever reason, and it was a waste of time until the last part of the meeting because he didn't give me any help to become a good or solid boxing manager. But before I left, this was in 2010, he was like, man, like, everyone out here is on like a paper chase. They're trying to like get money like in every way they can. He was like, yo, don't chase the money. Set yourself up for the money to chase you, and you'll win. And at first when he said it, I'm like, yeah, it's whatever, sounds good.
Old man advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the older I got, and then, starting to write books and then public speaking and doing different projects.
You can say that you're in your late 30s. It's okay.
Mid 30s, 36.
Was 37.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
May 28th.
Yeah. You're almost 50.
No. Yeah, that's the best piece of advice I got was from once upon a time a rival boxing manager. So yeah.
How have you stayed grounded, knowing that you got a lot going on, man? You got obviously a lot of you've lived all over. You've got a great center of influence. You've got a great career. You're an author. You're a business owner. You're a CEO. You're a full-time dad. What's your and if y'all don't follow Adrian on social media, you should, and not because of the boxing stuff, but because you can see. He is such a present person. He's so intentional. And his son, let's be honest, your son is going to be groomed to be the next King Griffey Jr. There's something going on there.
There's something going on there. And I'm not a fan of baseball, so I don't know where he gets it from. But, like, I'm pretty sure you're experiencing now as a dad. Like,
will you be his agent and charge him 60% fees?
No,
be like, all those lessons I gave you and all the T-balls and all the security deposits I lost.
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to sit down with whoever his agent is going to be if he does choose baseball. So they'll have to go through me to,
Good luck.
Yeah, I know, right?
But what's kept you grounded? Like, how have you been able to do that and maintain such a positive attitude and a calming presence?
I think maybe you're similar. I don't look in the mirror and see myself. It's like I think I'm okay. I think I'm cool, kind of, but I don't look in the mirror or look at myself or read about myself and think, I'm really this like cool, super cool person. I don't see what other people see. I don't take myself that seriously. I know I'm good at what I do, but I don't take myself that seriously. So I think that's how I stay grounded. I don't look at any of this and think, oh, like, there I am. Yeah. That's me. I just more so like, this is fun. I'm helping a lot of people, and it's benefiting. But yeah, I don't take myself seriously at all.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel. I stay grounded.
I love that, man. We had a guy too. I always reference it whenever I ask for advice and thoughts. And this guy a few weeks ago said, "Travel light," right? Which means you're going to deal with stuff, and you're in a successful position. You're kind of a lone wolf. You're going to have people coming at you. You're going to have bad stuff happen, but like push it aside and keep moving forward. I think you've done that as well as anybody.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm literally reading the notes that you made me talk great about you, and I'm just kidding. Well, what's the best advice you'd give somebody who's in your shoes, and they're trying to figure out what they want to go do, whether it's the world of boxing, it's professional sports, it's business. They want to go and find something that just excites them. What would you go and tell them?
Kanye West has a song, and you're starting out by saying Kanye West. It's like,
I know who Kanye West is. Thank you so much.
But he has a song called "Drive Slow," and just enjoying the journey, man. And Kobe Bryant talked about it his last game after scoring 60 points to win a game in his last NBA game. He just talked about enjoying the journey. Don't worry about like the destination, because it's like you get there, it's like this is kind of overrated anyway. But the journey to get to wherever it is that you're going, man, the ups and the downs, like it's amazing. So I would tell someone to drive slow, and just really embrace the journey and embrace the downs. When you're up, it's cool, man, but like the downs is what's really gonna make you, whether it's a businessman or businesswoman or an athlete, someone just in the workforce. It's the down periods that are really gonna make you as an individual. So just drive slow.
I like that. Or another singer, Miley Cyrus, has a song called "The Climb," which is a beautiful song. I love Kanye, but Miley has, for real, and I was kind of joking, but it's a beautiful song, and it's not about how fast you get there. It's not about what's waiting on the other side. It's about the climb.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that in a taxi cab in Orlando, driving back from Disney World, and breaking up with an ex-girlfriend. I've literally told the story on this podcast, and I was like, man, that's a freaking great song. And so drive slow. I did. I tear up realizing that I still had to fly back to Texas from Orlando with this girl. It's not a short flight, and so I also cried because Miley touched my heart. Okay. What's the one thing you're most proud of? You're a humble guy. You don't live in the moment of all your success. You maybe live in a little bit of fear, but what's the one thing outside of Ace?
I know you were going to say outside of Ace. The one thing I'm proud of, man, is protect yourself at all times, because when I created it, I remember, and it's funny. It's a funny story. There was a young lady that came over, and I remember she texted me. She was like, "Yo, you want some company?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." But
this is a podcast for family.
No, sir. But I thought it.
When I say young lady, she was a professor and she wanted to tutor me.
She was my friend. But I just remember, like, everything just came to me, and I'm writing on the dry erase board, and she comes up, and I'm just telling her everything of what it's going to be and how it can help out fighters and change the sport of boxing. And I think I bored her, essentially. She was just bored out of her mind, and then we didn't have any fun. So she was like, I'm gonna go home. So I walked her down to her car, and I'm still talking about protect yourself at all times. We get to her car door, and I open her door, and I was like, wait, did I miss something?
What's your name?
And she was like, no, it's all good. And I went back upstairs and got back to work. So protect yourself at all times is I'm just super proud of that, and how many fighters and parents and spouses that it's helped out, man. So
what happened to the girl? We're all wondering. Where is she?
I don't know.
Do you know her name?
I do know her name.
If you're watching this or listening, thanks for changing Adrian's life, and sorry that your heart got broken.
It's okay. So hopefully she found somebody else.
I like that. How do we support you? How do we find you? How do we buy your books? How do we go and follow your fighters?
So you go to Amazon. You can type in Adrian Clark.
The website again? What was it called?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I say it the wrong way?
Yeah. Go to Amazon.
Yeah, you go to Amazon, or you can go to my personal website, adrianclark.org. Can you sell things on a .org? You're not supposed to, right?
I don't think it's .gov or donation.org. It's an organization.
Yeah, I should be good.
Is this illegal? Is this where we get taken down? I went and bought a book on a .org site, and they caught me. Protect yourself at all times. Right. It's fraud. I actually got screwed. Okay, so AdrianClark.org, Amazon. Where else?
I think Barnes & Noble has a couple books, and I actually saw someone post that half price books has Protect Yourself at All Times, but I need to know where my royalties are going because it's like, I don't like the statements that I get. I don't think it's enough, but you know,
it might be time for you to protect yourself at all times.
True. I just need to sell them out the trunk of my car, and people have to go directly through me. But that's where you can find the books, and then my social media on Instagram, it's AC_Clark, and Twitter, which I never tweet, but the Adrian Clark, and on Facebook, Adrian Clark.
Wow. And the other brand, MySpace, Google Plus.
We need to bring back MySpace.
I like that. Okay.
You'll be on my top. Is it top 8 or top 10?
You'd be in my top 8 too.
Are you sure?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't seem too sure.
No. Yeah. 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 Well, that's my pal. That's Adrian. That's somebody who has persevered and somebody who has built an incredible brand, has a lot of loyal fans, a lot of loyal friends. I'm excited to be one of them. Excited to be a fan and a friend. And that's my friend Adrian. That's why I asked him to be a part of this. He's family to me. We don't see each other that often, but we're a part of each other's lives, cheering on one another, introducing them to other people, because that's what real friends do. Adrian's a pioneer. He's a perseverer. He is an icon. He's a tycoon. But as y'all could tell, none of it goes to his head. It always stays in his heart. And I think that's what makes a true salesperson that doesn't sell out, as someone that stays true to their beliefs and to their why. So Adrian, thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for being a big part of my life, and thanks for touching all the thousands of people that are going to watch and listen to this podcast in the future.
I love you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
I love you too. I'm your brother?
Yeah, man.
This is how we find out?
Yeah.
I love you, brother.
Hi, I'm Adrian Clark, and that's how you sell without selling out. Roger's that.